This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
In 2009, I became the very first Chief Procurement Officer for the American Red Cross, a $3.3 billion nonprofit founded in 1881. Think about that. In 5 years, my team saved the Red Cross over $250 million on purchased goods and services. That's more money going to help more people. I learned just how challenging it is for nonprofits to manage their supply chains. And so, therefore, my name is Jill Bossy, and that's why I created Thrive GPO, a technology-enabled group purchasing organization and procurement as a service provider focused exclusively on the nonprofit sector. 1.5 million nonprofits in the U.S. earning over $380 billion a year in revenue and spending over $100 billion a year on purchased goods and services. Everybody wins with Thrive GPO. Nonprofits save money, suppliers get an effective sales channel, donors see better stewardship of their donor dollars, and Thrive GPO makes a healthy profit. We already have over 100 members, trading with 10 suppliers and generating revenue today. Our business model is simple. 10 times 10 equals 1 plus 300. That's $10 billion in spend, earns an average of 10% in savings, which equates to $1 billion additional dollars for our nonprofits and a potential $300 million a year in revenue for Thrive GPO. We've created an online technology platform that makes it easy for our nonprofits to trade with the suppliers, and it's efficient for them so that whether they are saving people, saving animals, or saving the planet, they can be saving money with Thrive GPO. So thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with investors, advisors, nonprofits, or suppliers. Come on, join us. We were meant to thrive together.
Thank you, Jill.
And I'll also ask my partner, oh, there he is, Scott Deaver, to join me up here.
Great job, Jill. I think you did several things really well. I think your volume was great. That's really important.
Probably didn't need the mic, but.
And you also set the table right as well. I think a lot of people don't set the credibility stage well enough early on. And that is huge, because when you are meeting somebody new for the first time, developing credibility, just listening to the person is key. And the fact that you mentioned that you were the chief investment officer for the Red Cross, that's a big deal. I mean, you know what you're talking about. And I've never met you, and I already know that you know what you're talking about. So I think that's a big deal. I think you probably, I'm going to give you a little bit of the same feedback that I gave the previous person, which is a 2-minute pitch is not a compressed version of a 10-minute pitch. You shouldn't have to put everything that you want to put into probably a bigger pitch into a 2-minute pitch. I think you need to distill the essence of what you want to come across. And a 2-minute pitch should be more of a conversation with somebody. And you just need to tell them a couple of things. So just think about the 2 things that you want me to understand. And what you don't want to be doing is talking in generalities. There was a few generalities that you were throwing. They just kind of were fillers. So I think your introduction, your volume of credibility, kind of what you do was great. But then I kept wanting to hear more or getting to the punchline. I think you should think about a hook. I don't know what your hook is. And you need to hook me in order to have another conversation later. I think I know what you do. You're tech-enabled procurement software to help not-for-profits. But I don't really know how good you are, what makes you different from anybody else, other than the fact that you are probably qualified. And that's it. So, probably half of what I need to hear, you left unsaid, and I'm sure there's more. You want to help me answer that? What is the hook that you have for me? The thing that makes you unique, other than who you are and your experience.
Well, one thing that makes us unique is that there is only one other national competitor that we have. So this space is basically untapped.
Are there when you say that, so a GPO isn't a new thing,
Correct.
conceptually, right? There
Correct.
are GPOs out there. So when you say you have one competitor, that's one competitor who's presently marketing to nonprofits.
Correct.
Okay. Are there others there are other GPOs, the $100 billion of spend, right? What are the products and services? What are they? Pens and paper, or what is that?
So the $10 billion that we're focusing on are commonly purchased goods and services. So everything from office supplies to print to promotional. Actually, TriNet is one of our suppliers. So all of the things that all organizations buy, that's where we're focused first. The $100 billion is all purchased goods and services. So everything from the Red Cross and blood products to Habitat for Humanity and wood to World Wildlife Fund, or any of the other things that are used in humanitarian relief during disasters, etc.
And are all those companies working without one other provider?
Well, and that's the unique thing. They're not, because one of the challenges is they're in a federated model, right? So nonprofits, the vast majority of them are individual 501c3s, even though they might all fall under the same name. So one of the differentiators that we've got is our platform allows the headquarters to sign up and flow it down to all of their chapters without the chapters feeling as if the headquarters are taking over what they're doing on a local level. We've currently got Make-A-Wish as one of our members, and there's 62 different chapters, and we're in the process of rolling that out with them nationwide. And the headquarters is very good about working with their chapters, but they're not overpowering their chapters.
So how do they procure today? I mean, these companies that are not working with this big gorilla, 800-pound gorilla company,
Right.
how do they do things?
Well, and that's one of the problems, right? In nonprofits today, if you look at some of the surveys, over 40% of the donors believe that nonprofits do not make good use of their funds, right? That they're wasting their money. There's efficiency ratios that can be measured, et cetera, and this is one of the problems, and they really truly don't. I was truly the first chief procurement officer for the Red Cross, and when I walked in there, they had never done strategic sourcing prior to that. So here, a $3.3 billion organization, larger than some of the companies that you would know, had never bothered to leverage their applicable spend in the marketplace. And that's the same for all of these large organizations across that spectrum.
Why is that? I mean, I'm
Because
surprised.
they're more concerned with mission.
No, that I understand. But why is it that there's no other company that hasn't tried to do what you're trying to do now, to try to take over? What are the challenges the companies like you have?
The greatest challenge in the nonprofit sector are the nonprofits themselves. They are very insular, so you have to be part of the inside to get inside, or you have to know somebody to get inside. That's part of it. The other thing is that they can be very difficult to work with, and you have to understand the nature of the beast in order to get them to be focused on what is important and what will help them. Ultimately, once they get the picture and they understand, it's a light bulb goes off, and they really start tearing into what the opportunity is for them there.
Have you made any attempt to study what you think your cost of acquiring a customer is going to be versus, the net 3% revenue to you? It seems to me like it's a fragmented thing, right? And ultimately is relatively little revenue per customer.
Well, I don't know, but that's the question I have. As he was starting to make his question, I was writing also the same question.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to me like a big market potential.
It is.
Because there's a lot of not-for-profits, and what you told me, and I don't have any reason to doubt that it's true, that there's only one player out there, then it feels like a big opportunity.
Correct.
So my question is going to be, if I were to do sort of more digging into this, would be sort of what is the cost of acquiring a customer, and what is the potential for you? And I'm going to be skeptical about the fact that this is a huge opportunity, and at the same time, other companies are not seeing it. And it's not that it's not there. There's got to be something about it that is, systematic, that is preventing companies, either because the opportunity is not big enough or the challenges are too big. And I think if you help somebody understand that, one of the things that is really useful in a 2-minute pitch like this, or in any pitch, is to sort of take out the question that the person is going to be asking, sort of the negative aspect. Why isn't somebody doing this? And try to answer that question. I think that is going to be important to to get an investor interested. Can you try to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So the majority of GPOs today are in the healthcare market, which is also a part of the nonprofit sector, right? They are about $900 billion to $1 trillion a year in total revenue. And so you've got about 800 GPOs that are focused across the spectrum. And then the other part of that is education, which is about $500 billion a year. That's where most of the GPOs are focused. And obviously, those who are here in Charlotte know Premier. Premier IPO'd in 2013 for $760 million. They're a GPO that focuses exclusively in the healthcare market. Med Assets was out of Atlanta. They were acquired by Pamplona Capital in last year for $2.7 billion. And they're actually rolling their GPO off to do something else with it. So healthcare was a big focus, and that's kind of where the GPO market was created. They got through a lot of the federal regulations and rules against this kind of, if you will, collective bargaining approach for suppliers. And that's what has opened up the market for nonprofits. And quite honestly, when people hear the word nonprofit, they don't think that there's a lot of money there. And again, I'll say it's a $380 billion area, and this is all of the charities that you and I know, right? From Habitat for Humanity to the American Red Cross to the Salvation Army to Ronald McDonald House, anything you can think of, that's what falls into that bucket. And they're just simply, businesses don't tend to pay attention to them because they think that they're nonprofit and therefore they're small and inconsequential.
So what would, if I was one of the, I think you said there were 500 GPOs focused on education? Did I get that right?
500 billion is the education market. There's about 800 total GPOs in the U.S. operating today.
Okay, so if I was one of those 800 that had infrastructure to be able to provide office supplies, et cetera, various, I'll say sort of the generic goods and services to whether it's healthcare or education, what would keep me from moving into the nonprofit world?
Well,
is it just a marketing focus?
I think it's part of that. It's a customer segmentation. It's a marketing focus. So you have today, the one national competitor that we have is called Purchasing Point. Purchasing Point is a for-profit subsidiary of a nonprofit called the National Human Services Assembly. They have completely outsourced their process to Advantage Trust, which is a subsidiary of Health Trust, which is a big GPO out of Nashville. So, and they have only been able to get in, they've been in business since 2007, they have only been able to get about 70 million of that $100 billion in spend because of the challenges marketing in that area, and quite honestly, they don't understand the unique challenges that nonprofits face. That's some of the expertise that we bring to this market, right? We understand some of the challenges that the nonprofits are facing and how to overcome some of those, especially with the technology, because that's one of the things our competitor does not provide, is a technology platform that allows them to basically go on and feel as if they're on, if you will, Amazon.com. They go on, all of the suppliers are there, they can purchase, they don't have anybody breathing down their neck, they can decide when in that 24-hour cycle that they're going to purchase and how much and when.
So I understand the political point you're making about not enforcing it. But if I'm running Make-A-Wish and I let's say I believe that efficiency, et cetera, don't I really want to push this downhill versus just, hey, it's here, you can use it if you want, local chapter?
One would think. Unfortunately, again, you've got to. There's a different mindset that happens in nonprofits and their functioning.
And that's a barrier to entry itself. I think that's part of it, and I think I believe that. But I still, if I were to give you two pieces of advice on the pitch itself, as investors, I think there are going to be two questions that I would have. I would describe the pain point a little bit better.
Okay.
Part of it is what Greg is getting at is how hard is it to push things? What are the bureaucratic impediments that companies have to navigate through this environment? Just get at the essence of the pain point the customers have. Why would you be able to solve problems that others haven't been able to solve? What problem are you solving for these companies, for these not-for-profits, for your customers? That's one, and convey that in a very succinct way. And the other one is the opportunity. I think I'm skeptical. I believe you, but I'm skeptical that companies just haven't gone to this market simply because they believe not-for-profits don't have any money. not everybody knows that Red Cross is big. Some people think it's pretty inefficient too, and I think people find the opportunities. I mean, money finds the opportunities, and companies do find, entrepreneurs find that all over the place. So I think the argument needs to be a little stronger than just to say there's only one company, and nobody else is there, and I'm going to come here and take over an opportunity that is great, and nobody else has seen it but me. There's got to be more, and I'm sure there is. But and I would focus on that, because the opportunity, the challenges, don't be afraid to talk about them, because there are the things that make your job difficult, but they're also the barriers to entry. So use that in that way to describe how those challenges are going to be barriers to entry to other competitors, and you are in a more capable position to exploit them.
One quick question. Yes.
So the concern that I have also, and I'd love to hear you speak directly to it, I've been involved in governing a couple nonprofits, and I think a Jill is a very fair person to come in and say, we can slash costs. In my experience, and that's at a $3 billion organization. In my experience, at the $5 million, $10 million, or $20 million organization, they've got their budget. They go to Staples or Office Depot or Amazon. So what's the strategy for buying?
So that's one of the key issues. That's why we're using the technology platform. So I'll use Make-A-Wish as the example. Make-A-Wish signed up, and we're little by little we're rolling it out to all of their chapters. They're experiencing upwards of 50% in savings going to Staples. Staples Advantage instead of Staples.com. Staples Advantage instead of the Staples store. They're getting the same products, they're getting all of the same things, it's just they're getting better pricing because we're leveraging all of the market together, and that's really the difference, right? We're bringing them together, and when we started this business, one of our key thoughts was a rising tide lifts all ships. We're making sure that the big guys are coming on board to help create the leverage so that the little guys, the 5 million, can come on and get the same price that the big guys get. And that doesn't happen in most GPOs. Most of the time they're creating strata for the different pricing. We're not doing that in ours. We're making sure that the suppliers are willing to come on board and give one price for all nonprofits. Okay?
Jill, thank you very much. Jill Bosky.